Hey guys, welcome to Seed Planting Sessions. It's July the 3rd, 2018 at 3 p.m. We're going to be talking about support and resistance. The risk of loss trading any financial instrument, such as Forex or binary options, can be substantial. You must be aware and willing to accept those risks in order to invest. Don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. This is neither a solicitation nor an offer to buy or sell any financial interest. No representation is being made that any account is likely to achieve profits or losses similar to the ones discussed here. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Any strategies discussed are for educational purposes only and are not to be construed as specific trading advice. This material is for educational purposes only. Okay, let's begin here. We're going to be talking about resistance. What is resistance? Okay, imagine you are standing in your house and you're a tall person and you punch the ceiling. Is your fist going to go through? Probably not. However, it could, but the more you punch that ceiling, the weaker that ceiling's going to get. Punch, 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 and eventually, after you continue to punch, kapow, it's going to go through. This is resistance. You've got areas on top that serve as kind of like a ceiling. Price comes up to them. Then when it comes up to them again, if it's not strong enough to punch through, it's going to fall. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Support. Okay. Imagine you're standing in your house and maybe you've had one too many cheeseburgers and you jump up and down. Are you going to go through the floor? Probably not. However, if you hit that floor, time and time and time again, eventually you're going to go through the floor. This is kind of like the same thing as support. It serves as a floor. When price comes down and hits it, we may not know that it's support right away, but if it bounces off, we can draw a support line. I'll be talking about that shortly. And if price hits support too many times, it's eventually going to fall through. We're going to talk about this. All right, this is a support trend line. When price is either trending up or it's trending down, it does not matter. We're going to be talking about it trending up in this scenario. So price is trending up. And when it begins to trend up, after it's, trended for a while, we can draw a trend line. Now, again, when price hits that trend line too many times, it's going to break through. Until it does that, it's going to bounce off. This is a way of plotting support or resistance in, a diagonal manner. This is a resistance trend line. Okay, you can even draw a line on the top of resistance in a trending market, and these are very powerful. We're going to talk about that. Now, from these four patterns, you can form triangles, flags, wedges, and channels. Any type of trend line activity you can get from these four patterns. So let's hop right into it. We're going to look at blank charts. It doesn't matter what it is. A chart is a chart is a chart. We're going to look at anything that wiggles. And you might hear some noises in the background. That's my MT4 beeping. Let's start out with a blank chart. Now, in this scenario, the price is moving up. You can see price moving up and down right here. This is a live chart, by the way. Now, if I'm looking at this, how do I know where there may be buyers or where there may be sellers? Well, all I need to do is draw a line. Now, as we watch price come down and go up, come down, but not as far, and go up, and come down, but not as far, and go up, the traditional the traditional definition of a trend is higher highs and higher lows. Well, you see here. Here's a low. Here's a higher high. Here's a higher low than this low. Here's a higher high than this high. Here's a higher low than that low. And here's a higher high than that high. So this is an uptrend. We can tell this. So what do we want to do? Where did the uptrend begin? Well, let's go back. Well, okay. So you can see right here, here is the lowest of the lowest of the low price during this, short-term uptrend. If we want to get the long term, we can go back here and find a lower low, potentially. But right now, we'll say this is the low. Hang on. That's the low. We've got 1, 2, 3 touches right here. What does that tell us? Well, remember, if you eat too many cheeseburgers and you jump up and down, you're going to go through the floor at some point. So, 1, 2, 3. We've hit 3 times, and then it bounced off. So technically, this is a pretty strong support right now. We hit 1, 2, 3, it bounced. If we had hit 1, 2, 3 and it fallen through, this support would now be turned into resistance. Okay, so we have established a floor here. This is our short-term floor on the chart we're looking at. Here's our floor. However, price is trending up, but as we're sitting here looking at it, we won't even know it's a trend until it breaks resistance. So let's bring down another bar here, and let's put this on resistance. Now, why am I drawing the line here? Why? The reason is, whenever we see something like this and we can't see any further, let's pretend that this is the day that we're trading and all we see is this. We don't know whether it's a trend or not. No support or resistance has been broken. That's all we see. Now as price comes up here, you can see it went all the way up to resistance, which is the previous high that you can just spot on a chart. It's subjective. It's the previous high. Price went all the way up to the previous high. Now right here at this point, we've got a support. And now we have a resistance because now price is touched twice. Once, twice. We can draw a line there. Before, when we just had a high, we thought it might be a resistance, but we're not quite sure. So if we think about it, and we're not quite sure because there's only one touch, when it touches that second time, then we can go ahead and draw our resistance line and be darn sure, okay, there's resistance. Now, can you tell if it's a resistance right here? Well, not yet, because it's got to touch it and kind of bounce off of it. You can see right here it's just within that one bar. So let's go back. Okay, now we can see it touched it and it bounced off of it. And here you can see it did it a third time. It tried to come back up here, tried to break through. It could not, and it just tanked from there. So price is still within the support and resistance channel. Now you know a new term, channel, because we've got a channel that starts here and starts here. Here's our support, here's our resistance. It's not a very good channel yet because it's not very long. The best channels are the longer channels. So we've got just a little square area right here. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to wait for price to break out. And price broke out here. We can see it. You can't really, people a lot of times say, well, buy on the breakout. Well, you can't do that because you don't know if it's a breakout. It may be a zone. It may be a support or resistance zone where maybe price will break out for a few pips and then come right back down. You know, in order to see the proper breakout, it's a 1, 2, 3 action. 1, it breaks out. 2, it comes down to touch the support line. If it broke out to the top here, it'll come back down, touch the support line. And 3, you only buy when it breaks that second high. Okay. Boom. Price came back down and touched the support. So now we think, okay, this may be a breakout. And you can see it's already starting to form an uptrend. You don't yet know if it's an uptrend or not, but you're going to here in a minute. If price tanks and comes back within this area, then it's just a false breakout. However, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to draw a trend line, or a resistance line right there. I'm going to put an order a tick or two above this resistance line this time because it's 1, 2, 3. 1, it broke out. 2, it came back down and touched. 3, it went all the way back up to the top there. So that's where I'm going to put my buy order for an uptrend. Let's see what happens. I mean, we've already looked at the chart, but okay, there it breaks through. Now here's the thing: when you place a buy order up here and it breaks out, where's your stop loss going to be? Where are you going to put your stop loss? Well, let's pull down another line. Your stop loss is going to go below the lowest near-term low, and that's right here. Why? Because price broke out, came all the way back down here, and now it's all the way back up here. Here's your lowest low after the breakout. Okay, so your price or your buy orders right here. Your stop loss is right here. You don't really want to put in a take profit just yet. So we're going to let it go and see, is this an uptrend or not? Now you can take profits. I don't care where you take profits at, 10 pips, 20 pips, 100 pips, whatever. Then move your stop to break even. You can trail your order. That's not the topic of today. The topic of today is support and resistance and how it works. So here is a diagonal what we call support trend line. Now, look, see this sticking out here? Why is it sticking out? Why am I not drawing support here? Because it's more logical. Look, you got one touch, two touch, or one touch, two touch. These are two together. They're kind of counted as the same. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, trend lines are subjective. I could technically, if I wanted to draw a short-term trend line, I could draw it from here to here, whatever. We're not going to do that. We're just going to go with what we see. And what I see, the most logical solution would be right about there. We've got some touches here. We got a little touch zone right there. And let's see what happens. Okay, and you can see it just touching, bouncing off. We've got some price breaking here. It's breaking to the downside. We're just going to watch it. Where's our support and our resistance? Well, right now our resistance is right about there. That's the ultimate high resistance, and this could be some zone resistance, places where price touches, breaks through maybe, and then comes back down. So you got ultimate resistance, you got a zone resistance here, and you got a support trend line. Now, on that support trend line, if it breaks, what's going to happen? Just like, remember when it was in the uptrend, we want it to break, pull back, and break again. Let's look. Okay, so it did break. We want it to pull back up to roughly this area and break again. And it's not done it yet. It's in a live market right now. So I'm not going to touch this. I'm not going to say, well, support is right here. Is it going to go down? Probably, because it's forming a flag, which is it's forming an inverted flag right now. This is the usual movement for an inverted flag. If you want to go check this, I'll check it in a minute. I don't even know what I'm trading or what I'm looking at here. I think it's Euro USD maybe. I'm not sure. I'll look at it so you can follow along. Go back and check the date when this was made and see what happened. So this is usually the way it happens. It's kind of like a lightning bolt, kind of like a flag, kind of like a pennant. Some people call them different things, but all they are is they're a move down, then a short-term move back up, and then a move down. If that happens, it's in a downtrend, for the short term. But if it does not come back up here and touch resistance, I would have to look at that in a different way. And here's a downward flag, which is the #1 trading indicator ever, by the way. So is it going to move down? I don't know. But if it does, it's probably going to move down about as much as it did from here to here. Let's go look at what we're looking at. I turned everything white. USD yen. Here's where it gets really, really, really cool. And I want you to go check this on any chart you can look at. If we got an uptrend, I want you to draw what's called either an inverted trend line. It could be called a resistance trend line. It's just a trend line that's on the top in an upward market, or it's on the bottom, like down here in a downward market. I want you to watch. We only need 2 touches for this. 1, 2. We need a high, and we need a higher high, and you can draw a trend line to extend out into the future. On the very next touch, it would be a pretty good probability, of which I do not have the actual numbers to, but just based upon everything that I've seen, and we'll go through that here in a minute. Pretty good probability that it will come right back down as soon as it touches the upward trend line. And, well, it didn't quite make it, and it fell, but you get the idea. And you can do this with just about any type of trend line. Let's start here, and let's pretend that we haven't seen anything yet. Let's pretend that's all we see. Or actually, let's make it even better. And this is hindsight. You can do this on like a Forex tester going forward or something. Well, let's say you see this, you see that, blah, 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 and it comes back up there and it touches and it drops, touches and it drops. It goes up a little bit and it drops. Well, that's all fine and dandy. But if you're, looking at hindsight, you have to look at all of them. Here's one that didn't work. It went up. We have 2 touches up here. We can draw a line out into the future. And it came up here. Well, actually, on a very, very short term, actually, it did work. I'm sorry. It did go up above a little bit, but it dropped enough to. If it did this right here, I mean, just started consolidating instead of just dropping. That's a good idea to say, hey, I don't like you anymore. I'm closing you down. So that's an inverted trend line, or what do you call it? Resistance trend line. Okay, USD Swiss franc 5-minute chart. Here we go. Let's look for a triangle. Here's a trend line down. Here is a trend line up. That is a triangle. Now, why is a triangle? What's a triangle used for? Well, it's used the same way we use any other support and resistance. If it breaks out, we're looking for a breakout, a touch, and a breakout again. If it breaks to the downside, we're looking for a break, a pullback, touch, and a break again. So let's zoom in on that. Price is coming down from the upside. Price is moving up from the downside, so it's forming a triangle. It's consolidating. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And if I saw this right here, I would be looking for the same thing that I did with any other trend line. Okay, I see it starting to look like it's going to break out to the upside. I just don't know yet. Okay, so this, would it be a break and then a touch? I would call it a break and a touch because we're kind of scrolled out right now. But if you want to scroll in a little bit more, there we go. Is it a break and a touch? Well, it looks like it. So let's draw us a little trend line right there, or a little resistance line. I know it's red, but just go with me. So that's resistance. If it breaks above there, I want to wait for it to come back down. Hang on a second. Okay, price did a fake out on me there. Price, in this triangle came out. I thought it was going to break to the upside, but it didn't. Broke to the downside, and it followed the trend line on down. So anyhow, now it's down. Can't do anything with it right now. No trade has taken place, and that trade is null and void. Now, triangles usually precede a trend that is measured by the amount of the triangle. So this triangle, how big is it? It's about this big. So that trend is not going to be a very big trend when it starts trending. Okay, so there's a drop right there. So we now know it is in a downtrend. You can also see support right here. So let's go back to support, see what happens there. All right, it broke. Let's see. Does it pull back to somewhere near the support line and then drop again? It pulled back right here and then fell. It didn't go below the bottom here yet, though. It didn't go below the bottom. So let's draw a line there. If it breaks below the bottom, that's a sell, and if it does not, that's a no trade. Okay, it has not. That's a no trade. So that's how you can use triangles in your chart analysis. It's just lower highs and higher lows, just to form a triangle. Remember that high and tight flag we talked about a few minutes ago? Check this out. Here's one that happened previously. There we go. It formed a little channel down, a small channel back up, and it dropped in about the same amount that it did up here. And it did it again. It was like a double whammy. And this time it dropped in about twice the amount of both of these combined. That's a flag. That's a flag to the downside. Who loves Netflix? Well, I do. It's in an upward channel. This is what a channel looks like. This is a long channel. Now, when Netflix breaks down below this channel, comes back up to the resistance, and then falls again, that'd be a good idea to short right there. If it continues up, well, you know what to do. So this is a channel. It doesn't matter if it's diagonal or if it's horizontal. Boy, what did Starbucks do to tick off people? Price is just tanked like a rock, and it's hitting support right now. Now, why did I not draw support way down here? Because this is one tick. This is probably when all that news came out here a while back about somebody sleeping in there or something. I don't even know what it was, or maybe that was this. I don't remember. But this is a horizontal channel. All it is just support and resistance. If it breaks up above, you got 1, 2, 3. Break, touch, break again. If it falls down, you got 1, 2, 3. Break, touch, break again. And then when price does things like this and it gets down to support, you can throw things on there like the high fives. The high fives is for advanced users, but I mean, once you learn it, you learn it. A buddy of mine, Tom, said it took him like 30 minutes to learn how to use it. So, but when price gets down here to like a support level or a resistance level, one thing you want to know is how far is price likely to move during this bar, like during this daily bar? How far is price likely to move even if it drops here or if it, rises here? Well, the high fives will show you that. It'll show you everything from expiries to, let's see, touches, or even dual touches, which means where it touched two levels. So the high fives is a great tool that we have. It's in our premium section, but it will show you how often price moves X amount of pips regardless of anything happening. But if you look at it during support and resistance levels, it's a great tool. All right, until next time, guys, I will see you on the next episode of Seed Planting Session. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, and join the Facebook group. We talk about a lot of things in the Facebook group. All right, I will see you later. Bye-bye.